Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Cocoa Nomad channel. And I am back with another weekly retrospective. And I talk about what I'm working on, following what went well, what didn't, and what I need to change. And I hope you're doing the same. So let's go ahead and dive in. So let's start with what went well this past week. The biggest thing is I launched a new podcast, and I'll have a link in the show notes. I'll talk about the new podcast that I launched with a friend of mine. Hopefully, we may get some other creators to join us. It's called the Indie Creator Studio. And here's kind of like an inside view. We just talk about topics around content creation, any kind of creative projects. My friend Raheem is writing a book, well, actually, he's written two, and he's working on many more. I have several creative projects. Some are around development in the mobile space, and then some are just other creative projects. And so we just wanted to talk about sort of the ins and outs, the tools, the things that you have to, the challenges you have, all of these things. And what we found was we were already having these regular conversations, and just really wish we'd hit record at the end of them a lot of times. So we've decided to just hit record, and now we are live. We have an episode that is available. I launched a podcast today, and then the YouTube channel, by the time you hear this, will be up as well, and you will be able to see the video. Second, the client work. I always talk about the client projects. I have one client project right now. Shipped a new build, lots of fixes, lots of improvements. It looks really, really good. I'm very happy in the direction it's going in. The client's happy. We have a nice momentum going. And I think that even part of this cadence of me doing these weekly retrospectives has helped because before I was doing it in 2-week intervals, and I think things were getting lost in the weeds because I was going 2 weeks without checking in on all of the areas of my life. And so here we are, 1 week in after doing this now for I think this is the third or fourth week, and it has benefited as well. So this is a great thing about doing this. This is why I encourage you to do this as well. So I think you'll see some benefits in what you're working on, different areas of life. It doesn't just have to be your job or your client work or things like that. You can do this for any area of your life and just do a weekly assessment asking these very same questions. One of the other things that I did was because I previously talked about one of the things that I was having challenges with and what wasn't going well is I went out and sought help. So I have a friend who's a branding and content writing coach, and I am availing myself of her services. So she's going to be helping me. We're doing some sessions to improve my branding, to improve my content writing, sort of give me a framework, an approach so that I can make this content process work a lot easier and smoother, because that was one of the challenges that I was having. So that's great. And then on the health front, which I don't always talk about, I'm start adding this in just a little bit because I think it's important. It's like your health and your diet and all these things are important. Is I've started intermittent fasting again. So I used to do basically 18 and 6 every day. So I would fast for 18 hours and eat for 6. My sleep schedule and a couple other things have kind of thrown that off. And I will do a video about my sleep schedule because it is a bit different than what most people do. But I was finding I was having some problems in some multiple areas, and it was throwing everything off. And so I've decided to start doing some 20-hour fast to sort of kickstart me into the fasting process again. I was successful with 2 of those this week. And the challenge now is, of course, I need to figure out what those other days are going to be like, because there's different ways that you can do fasting. You can do like, the 1 or 2 long fasts, like 20 to 24-hour fast, and then have a regular eating schedule outside of that. I had not tried that before, and I'm not really sure if that's the optimal one for me, but I'm willing to give it a try again this week and just see what a 20 to 24-hour fast looks like. And then the other 5 days I'm eating still within a window, and I'm not gorging or anything like that, because I typically only eat once or twice a day anyway, but just to see how that works. And then the morning workout. So I stopped going to my gym and training Muay Thai. I mean, part of it is just injury. Part of it is just the distance to get there. And it's like, it throws my work schedule off because I like to work very early. I'm really big on working early in the morning and then not doing anything in the middle of the afternoon and then working in the evening. And so the schedule doesn't really work with that. So if it was closer, maybe I could figure out a way. I used to live basically like a 4-minute walk away from the gym, and now it's 20 to 25 minutes if I'm walking, and I prefer to walk. So it's just like something I'm going to have to adjust. So I'm back to doing my HIIT workouts that are very focused, very quick, 20 minutes. And I'm working on varying those a little bit, just kind of give it a little bit of variety. but at least it's going to keep me back on track. And so I think I put on a couple of pounds for a few reasons, and I just decided like I needed to get back into a regular routine as my work is falling into a nice flow and a nice routine as well. And then finally, what went well is my virtual drum kit, free drums, came finally by FedEx. I was caught a little off guard by the import tax I had to pay from the FedEx guy when he shows up. It was like $50, which was really, really surprising. It's like 20% of the cost of the product. And but I'm super excited. I've unboxed it, but I haven't set it up yet just because I've been working on other things. I will be getting to that this week. And I'm debating if I'm going to start yet another channel where I learn and teach myself, basically. I have no formal drumming training, but I have played them just for fun. I've had an electric kit and an acoustic kit in the house, but no formal training. But I'd like to get better, and I'd like to like follow a program to improve. And I might just create a separate YouTube channel where I just do that. So if you're interested in drumming and this whole idea of virtual, because I am really into like augmented reality and virtual reality, I'm excited to see where this goes. And so I wanted to take a dive in that's not me writing code, which I did last year for the Reflexes app. This is more of me just using, although there's a good chance that I might actually create a virtual augmented reality drum kit around these anyway, but we'll see. That's like blue sky go very far off. I have far too many projects right now to even consider doing something like that, but you know, things change. So what didn't go well? And so this was the one of the reasons that jump started me back to the intermittent fasting and the workout again, was I was having problems moving past like a relationship that ended a while back, not even a while back, it's like maybe like a month or so ago, a month and a half ago. And it was really, really bothering me. It's like I thought I should have processed all this stuff by now and it should be over, and but it just wasn't. And I found it getting in the way of the work that I'm trying to do now. It's just like really distracting that this person was always on my mind, like literally invading my dreams. And I'm like, I got to do something. So I did do something. Had been writing and things like that. And then I did a ceremony today, which is something I had done for other reasons. Usually when I lose someone, a friend or a family member, it's sort of like a way to help me process. And I learned it from my travels, kind of picked it up from some traveling back in 2016, 2017. And so I will drop a link to the blog post that I did about that. It includes some pictures. Unfortunately, this won't be a video just because I did just a little video, and then I didn't film all of it. And I said some things out loud, and I just don't want those things like recorded. And so it would have ruined like the process in the moment to do that. So I just took a few pictures and I captured it in words, and I'll drop a link to that blog post so you can, if you're interested in that type of thing, if you have trouble moving on from something, this may help. And so here you go. So, and then the second thing that didn't go well is the newsletter. This is back to the content creation process. I'm getting better at making these videos. I'm getting better at getting blog posts and IG posts and things like that out. And that's going pretty well. But the newsletter keeps coming out really, really late. It's one thing for me to try to figure out when the optimal day for the newsletter release is. It's quite another to be working on the newsletter on the Friday that it goes out. So what I've decided to do is I realized that I wasn't actually scheduling that process as like a block of time. I need to do a time block. So that's what I'll be doing this week to address that directly. What I have learned in this past period is going back to this ritual. I guess this is a relearning or sort of being reminded that rituals can serve a vital purpose. And that's the thing, whether it's your exercise routine. I have a routine where I get flowers. You can see here every week that I bring new flowers. I like to have the freshness and the colors. It brings new life. I have something living inside of the house besides myself, and I don't have a pet and I don't have a family. So this is one of those things that I do to just kind of like brighten my space and brighten my day. So I use that to and it's basically a ritual. I go to the flower shop the same day, and there's just like the cutting and then the removing and the placing of the new flower. So that's one of those things. So realizing that and relearning that, or just remembering these processes, these things that work for you, I think is important. The next thing that I've learned is some new financial ratios. Like I'm really big on financial spreadsheets on my like journey to financial freedom or independence or whatever you want to call it. Definitely not retire early. That's just not my jam. I've already had like multiple mini retirements in my life. I tell people all the time, I've been a beach bum, I've been a movie bum, I've been a coffee shop bum. Like I've spent summer on the beach. Like I've done these like sabbaticals and mini retirements, and so I know long term that's just not something I'm up for. Because I would get bored. I know because I got bored when I was 27, and I got bored when I was 30, and I got bored when I was 35. So it's like I've walked that road. I will do a video at some point about some of the details about that and go into why I think at this day and age, regardless of your age, that this idea of retirement, I think it's changed. I mean, I'm from the US and I don't know how other countries deal with that and talk with it, but in the US, it's sort of like this thing where you work really hard for like 30 years, you save up this money and throw it into like these investment vehicles like 401ks and whatnot, and then you retire, and it's like, then what do you do? And for me, I'm excited about so many things, and so many things now in this age that you can leverage your hobbies and your anything you enjoy doing. You can actually generate an income from them. There may not be a lot, but it's a thing that can possibly sustain you and at least keep you going for your expenses, so you don't have to dip into like any of the savings that you have, and you can keep yourself going well into your aging years, and you can stay active, which I think is a super important part. If you can stay active and you can stay healthy, then you can really enjoy those later years. I think that's super important. What still puzzles me is the next section. Didn't have anything this week, which is odd because I'm usually puzzled by something. But I didn't even have a technical thing this week that I was puzzled by. So that will change very, very soon, guaranteed. Because again, I'm launching a programming channel that's separating the Swift UI and the development stuff. So I'm absolutely certain there'll be something that'll puzzle me next week with regards to developing for the Mac or iOS for the watch or something in the language. So I'm taking a break. I'm just going to enjoy the fact that I'm not puzzled this week. We'll see what happens. So what will I do differently? I think I touched on a lot of these already. So I did the ritual of letting go of this thing, this relationship, and finally putting it to bed and moving on. One thing, that's not an ongoing thing, but it's just one of the things to remember, that if I'm having trouble processing something, it could be losing a client, it could be losing a job, it could be losing a friend, but just like letting things go and creating space for these new things is just a thing that you can do. Scheduling the news process, again, like I said, the newsletter process for earlier in the week. So I'm going to start tackling that tomorrow. So I have a process where I go out and find things that I think are interesting to digital nomads and remote workers. And I found that I was starting that like Wednesday or Thursday, and I was letting client work and all other kinds of things get in the way. And now I'm saying, no, I'm going to defend that space that I've allocated for it on Monday and get that thing done on Monday, so that I have enough time to edit, improve. Because sometimes the theme of the newsletter changes, and I kind of want to focus on one thing versus another. So this gives me enough time to like work on that, and even possibly, which is my goal, to create additional, it's like have future issues like ready to go, so I can start working on future editions. So I'd love that process to go a lot smoother. And some of this, eventually I'm gonna have to get some help, and I won't be the only person working on the newsletter. The other thing is, again, like I mentioned, update my morning exercise routine. I really do like to keep it tight, like to get up, get the exercise in. 20 is like really high intensity. I want to get a good sweat going, work the muscles, and then I want to get started with my day. So I'm bringing that back in a formal way. I sort of let it be haphazard because I allowed the Muay Thai to take that over at spot, and then when I was not going there, I just didn't fill it back in, and so I've got to fix that. So I've already started doing that. So even though this is a what am I working on, what am I doing this week, I started that 3 or 4 days ago. So I'm already like 4 days in a row into like doing that routine. It feels great, and hopefully I'll drop like a few pounds too, because I'm getting a little doughy. And then adding the 2 fasting days per week, the 20 to 24 hours, just see how it affects my energy, my focus, my sleep, and of course my weight, because I think that's another part. Just full disclosure, it's just all relative. Like when people talk about their weight and their fitness and things like that. If you are happy, I'm not encouraging anybody to say that you need to lose weight or do anything like that. For me, I have my own sort of childish reasons in some ways, literally, for the way I try to look and feel. And it's not a negative thing. Like I'm just a nerd. If we're having a drinks or something, I'll explain it. But it's super simple, and it's just how I feel and how I feel about myself and how the level of energy and capability and things that I want to be able to do. And that number varies for everybody. I have a good friend who's working on an app right now, and he's been working on an app to sort of help him with his weight loss journey, because he does feel like for himself that he needs to lose a lot of weight. But I just don't want this to come across as judgmental or anything like that. And because I mentioned this to a friend the other day, and they were like, dude, you don't need to lose any weight. And I'm like, it's always relative. It's like someone's hair not being long enough. It's like, you like it at a certain length, you like your hair at a certain length. It's just what it is. So it's more of like what I want for myself, and not any kind of judgment or evaluation on anybody else. So just keep that in mind. So let's go into the review part, and this is outside of those retrospective questions, a review. So what did I ship? Like what went out? And I mentioned some of this, so we're just going to quick review for the client app, which I haven't mentioned the name. I will at some point. I'm not sure this name is not going to change. This is one of the reasons why I haven't, because haven't really launched it yet. So I just kind of want to hold back before any sort of like media websites, all that stuff goes out. But once that's done, more than happy to talk about it. In fact, excited to talk about it. So the new builder went out. They're very happy again. Any Creator Studio launched new podcast. Recorded 2 episodes this past week, but I lost one. So I guess I should go back to what puzzles me. How do you record multiple videos and audio sessions from a single Zoom call? That's what puzzled me, because clearly I didn't know what I was doing, and we lost one. It's like, pour one out. Cocoa Nomad got 2 podcast episodes out, 1 blog post. Videos are going steadily, so that's great. And then for the Swift UI MVP site, I've been creating some documents, sort of just like formulating the ideas about how this is going to go, because it's going to be a lot of tutorials building up in this whole MVP process, which I'll go into in a single video and talk about how I like to build MVPs and the different ways that I like to approach them to keep it fresh, to keep it fun, and also to minimize the distraction, because I'm always getting new ideas and I have to do something with them. Or like I've got to have these, just like the process of letting go of something, I have to have a process of letting go of that idea and putting it somewhere where I can go back and revisit it later, or it'll just stay top of mind and distract me from my current work. I also started a new course from designcode.io, from Ming Tu. I hope I pronounced his name right. He has some really great materials. And I've been wanting to do it for a while because I wanted to improve my design skills, and I love his approach. It takes me back to the very beginnings of iOS development and what drew me in the first place. So I'll be doing the design course this week, and there's several other courses that I'll go through. And it's also helped me to create like the structure for the courses that I'm writing. So I like to pay attention. If someone does something well, I like to see how they're doing it, how they structure. It's like his materials look really nice. They're really easy to follow. It's very clear. And so I said, okay, these are the aspects that I want to have in my offerings as well. So super excited about that. So those are the things that I'm working on. Unboxing the drum kit, which is done, setting it up this week, playing around with it, maybe making some initial videos just to see what it looks and sounds like, because I'd like to combine it with like playing along with songs that other people can hear. So I do have to learn how to do that. I'm still a newbie with like video and creating this type of content. And then financial, like updating financial data. I'm not certain about sharing these things. I know that there are tons of popular videos about more than just like the cost of living, which I have finished. It is recorded, just needs to be edited, and it will be launched this week. So you can look for that in the channel. But people talk about income reports, and a part of me wants to share like these new things that I'm doing and other ways that I'm trying to make a living outside of just client work. And I don't typically share it. I wouldn't share it anyway, just because it's like, yeah, I'm a software developer. I do software projects. It's kind of a known thing. But for people who are looking to be remote and maybe be independent and maybe be entrepreneurial, maybe get into consulting or maybe start some side businesses, I felt like it may be helpful to share some of those numbers. But it's kind of a double-edged sword, so I'm not really sure. One, it's like, you're kind of in my business, and I'm not really super keen on that. So one of the things this past week in learning these ratios is I do think sharing my ratios could be very helpful without revealing the details, the dollars. because I think understanding what kind of ratios you have in terms of like assets to debt, or in terms of how much runway you have as a going concern as yourself, you treat yourself like a corporation. It's like, how long can you go and pay bills and do these kinds of things? So I came across a great article that introduced some new ratios and then some old ones that I already knew, that I already track, and one that I have a bit of a dispute with because the author's calling it one thing and I call it something else, and so I've got to figure out like the right word for that, or the right term for it, because it can get a little confusing. But I think it can be very helpful for people to share important ratios. And because it's me, I have an app behind it as well. I've been running an app I wrote called Finlit in my pocket now for probably, I don't know, 11, 12 months. Never released it. I just use it for myself to sort of track my financial independence, financial freedom progress. But hopefully, once I complete the design course, I can add some polish. I have a couple of apps like this. My boxing app, I have like a HIIT training, high intensity interval training boxing app that I use, that I just do my workouts with. Again, I don't share it because it's just like, oh, the UI just, I don't like it. I don't want anybody to have this ugly UI in their hands, but I have to get over that. Sort of like these videos, right? The early ones, let's be honest, they kind of suck. But the core nuggets I think are good. Like the information I think that I'm sharing, I think is useful. I think it's helpful. And I think it's the same thing with the app, right? These things are helpful, just doesn't look the best. Don't have those chops yet. And maybe I just need to outsource that and get somebody to come in and help me put like the snazzy graphics and everything coming down on the side and the transition so you can move in and out and do all that kind of thing. But partially, I'm not that fancy. And then two, like that takes some time. Ain't nobody got time for that. So I'd rather just give you the nuggets, get in and get out. So in that vein, this is going a little long, so I'm going to wrap this up. So that's it for this week. I don't have any blockers. It's just a matter of me just like dedicating the time. I'm not distracted. I think the ceremony helped really sort of like finalize and put like closure and context on that so that I'm not distracted. And then, like I said, these incoming new ideas, I have a way to deal with the distraction of those as well. And I'll probably talk about that, like I said, when we talk about building MVPs and getting ideas as a creative person, and what do you do with them and how you migrate them and take them through the cycle before, from ideation to creation, where this thing actually exists in the world. So I would love to talk about that, and I absolutely will in more detail. I want to take this time to just thank anybody for watching. You're still here. Please click the like button so if it's helpful, other people can find it. And I'm learning to get better with the keywords and stuff to make it easier for people to find, but the likes absolutely positively help, and I do appreciate it. If you want to continue on this journey with me on this channel, then click the subscribe button and get the notification bell if you want to do that. But I really feel like that's secondary to just the like. Sometimes it's just like, get some good information and go, I'm cool with that. And yet again, like I said, cost of living is coming this week. It's dropping. So if you're curious, I'm in Playa del Carmen. I do have to decide my next destination soon. I will talk about that in the next video. Have an amazing week. Cheers.